Why Japan is collapsing, the dark side no one talks about. Have you ever wondered why Japan's economic growth is stalling, or why its schools are closing at an alarming rate? And what about the enigmatic term Hikikomori, those who withdraw entirely from society? Today we unravel the layers of Japan's predicament, from economic contractions and demographic collapses to the rise of a socially isolated population. Join us as we navigate through the intricacies of Japan's struggles, shedding light on the lesser-known aspects that demand our attention. The questions persist. Can innovative solutions and a shift in societal perspectives offer a lifeline for Japan, or is the nation destined to grapple with the consequences of its traditional values? Let's embark on a journey to understand the hidden truths and potential pathways to redemption for a nation at a crossroads. Starting off, we have Japan's biggest issue, its demographic collapse. Let's see it through the eyes of its youth. In the afternoon, when schools are usually buzzing with kids leaving and families picking them up, the scene at Hikikomori School in Kyoto, Japan is different. Instead of the usual hustle and bustle, there's quietness. Only Hikari Yuruki, age 27, stands outside the closed school gates. She attended this school, following in the footsteps of her father. However, her baby won't have the chance because Hikikomori shut down nearly 10 years ago. This happened because there aren't as many children in Japan anymore. The country is facing a serious problem with not enough kids being born, a situation known as a demographic collapse. So much so that in January 2023, Prime Minister Fumio Kishida said that Japan is on the verge of being unable to maintain its social functions. It is now or never, he declared, assuring the public that reversing this trend will be his most important policy objective. Around the mid-1990s, Japan used to have approximately 1.2 million babies born every year. Back then, the country was moving into a phase where its economy wasn't growing much after enjoying exceptional growth for many years. Fast forward to 2022, and the number of newborns dropped significantly, with fewer than 800,000 babies born. This decline happened much quicker than people anticipated. This worrying trend has caused a lot of concern and anxiety among the population. The Japanese government predicts that if things don't change, the current population of 125 million people will decrease to around 100 million by 2050. Later on, by the end of this century, it might drop even more drastically to just 60 million. This rapid decline in population raises serious concerns about Japan's future. There are worries about whether the country will be able to handle the expenses for pensions and taking care of older people. Also, having enough young people with fresh ideas and energy to drive the economy forward is a big concern. Hikikomori School closing down is not an isolated case. It's part of a bigger trend in Japan where about 500 schools shut their doors every year. There are more than 10 million empty buildings in the country, and many areas are falling apart. Japan is not alone in facing issues with declining birth rates and an aging population. Countries like Spain and Italy also deal with similar challenges. However, in Japan, these problems are more intense due to its strong attachment to traditional values. These values make it harder to achieve gender equality and be open to accepting people from other countries. These are the crucial factors needed to tackle the crisis. Japan and South Korea stand out among the countries facing the most significant demographic issues. The country's conservatism is evident in its politics too, with the right-wing Liberal Democratic Party being in power almost continuously since 1955. Well, if you remember, I mentioned the word Hikikomori earlier. Let's shine a spotlight on this term and understand how it contributes to Japan's challenges and potential collapse. Hikikomori is a term used to describe people who completely isolate themselves from society, seeking extreme levels of social withdrawal and confinement. While many individuals feel pressure from the outside world, Hikikomori react by completely withdrawing socially. In severe cases, they might isolate themselves in their rooms for months or even years, often having very few or no friends. Media reports and documentaries interviewing Hikikomori individuals show the intense psychological distress and unhappiness they experience. These individuals typically prefer staying indoors but might occasionally go outside. The withdrawal from society usually begins slowly, with affected people appearing unhappy, losing friends, becoming more insecure and shy, and speaking less. According to the Japanese government's data from 2010, there were around 700,000 individuals living as Hikikomori in Japan, and their average age was 31. However, the actual numbers can differ a lot, according to different experts. Some of these Hikikomori were in their 40s and had spent about 20 years in isolation, forming what's known as the first generation Hikikomori. There's worry about how these individuals will reintegrate into society by the 2030s, when they'll be in their 60s, and might face challenges as their parents pass away. The government also estimates that about 1.55 million people are on the verge of becoming Hikikomori. The term Hikikomori was first coined by Tamaki Saito, who initially estimated that there might be over 1 million Hikikomori in Japan, although this was not based on a national survey. However, since Hikikomori individuals, especially adolescents, are often hidden from society, and their parents might not talk openly about the problem, it's very difficult to accurately determine the exact number of people affected. Lastly, let's talk about how Japan's economy contracts as recession risks grow. Japan's economy shrank between July and September 2023, after growing for 2 quarters in a row. This happened because people didn't spend as much money, and exports of goods slowed down. This makes it harder for the country's central bank to reduce the large amount of money it has been putting into the economy. The problem is made worse by the fact that prices for things people buy every day are staying high, which means households are feeling the pinch and not spending as much. Also, companies that manufacture goods are finding it tough because other countries, especially China, are buying fewer goods from Japan. Given the absence of a growth engine, it wouldn't surprise me if the Japanese economy contracted again in the current quarter. The risk of Japan falling into recession cannot be ruled out, said Takeshi Minami, chief economist at Norinchukin Research Institute. The weak growth in the specter of slowing inflation could delay the BOJ's exit from negative interest rates, he said. Policymakers were hoping that after the pandemic, there would be a strong bounce back in spending within the country to make up for lower demand from places like China. However, that didn't happen as expected. Consumer spending stayed the same during July through September, following a 0.9% drop in the previous quarter. This didn't meet the expectations of economists who predicted a growth rate of 0.2%. Additionally, spending by business on things like equipment and facilities fell by 0.6% in the third quarter, following a 1.0% decline in April through June. This went against market predictions of a 0.3% increase. These figures cast doubt on the belief of the Bank of Japan that strong investments by companies would drive economic growth. Even though the weak yen has been beneficial for big companies selling goods abroad, regular workers haven't been getting higher wages to keep up with the increasing prices of things they buy. When you consider the wages people get, adjusted for inflation, they actually fell by 2.4% in September compared to the previous year, and this has been happening for 18 months in a row. The Prime Minister, Fumio Kishida, has been urging companies to increase wages and has introduced some plans to help people cope with the higher cost of living. But experts think these plans might not do much to help the economy grow. In a nutshell, Japan faces a multitude of challenges, from economic contractions and demographic collapses to the alarming rise of Hikikomori individuals who withdraw completely from society. These individuals paint a complex picture that goes beyond the country's technological advancements and cultural richness. As we witness Japan grappling with declining birth rates, aging populations, and socio-economic repercussions, it's evident that traditional values and social norms play a significant role in exacerbating these challenges. The looming question remains: how can Japan address these pressing issues while adapting to changing social dynamics? What are your thoughts on Japan's predicament? Do you think innovative solutions and a shift in societal perspectives could help alleviate these problems? Share your views in the comments section. And if you found this video insightful, don't forget to subscribe for more engaging content. Like and share to spread awareness about Japan's lesser-known challenges and encourage discussions on potential solutions. Your participation matters.